Good evening, everybody, and good evening to those watching on YouTube. Welcome to this evening's Cabinet meeting. Just to remind everybody that this Cabinet meeting is being live streamed and a recording of the meeting will be available on the Council's YouTube. And under the Local Authorities Executive Arrangements, Regulations 2012, other people may film, record, post on social media or blog from this meeting, and any such images or sound recordings are not under the control of the Council. So, without further ado, let's move on to the first item of the agenda, item 1, which is apologies for absence, and I think we're all here, so that's fine. Item 2, declarations of interest. Does anybody have any declarations of interest? No. Item 3, minutes of the meeting held on the 9th of July. Can I sign those as a true and correct record, please? All in favour? Thank you very much. So, item 4, citizens' questions. There are no citizens' questions. Item 5, opposition group leaders' questions. There are no opposition group leaders' questions. So, we're moving straight on to item 6. Which relates to the revenue and capital budget monitoring. And Councillor Devender, would you like to start us off?
Thank you, Chairman. So this is the first of our 24-25 financial reports, or Q1 report, as sometimes we call these. I suppose my opening remarks here, Chairman, with regards to this report is that with regards to the general state of public finances, it is a positive report. However, of course, particularly in the context of some of the challenges we've been discussing at recent Cabinet and Council meetings, we cannot and won't be complacent with challenges that still lie ahead. So I'll very briefly, without going through the entire report, cover some highlights from both our revenue and capital positions. As far as revenue is concerned, we do have an overall efficiency position of some £1.106 million. And Table 1 and Appendix B gives some of the breakdown of the variances which make up that efficiency gain. And paragraph 4.4 states and highlights some of the key reasons, including, just to highlight for Cabinet here, for example, interest income. So we've had £250,000 from our Treasury activities, which has contributed towards that overall figure, which is positive. There are some other areas, as the table breaks down and Appendix B breaks down, in terms of savings on other areas, including leisure, for example, and our contracts, depot contracts. Table 2 in the report highlights where some of these underspends can be used, and we've discussed previously pressures where we can allocate some of these amounts, and Table 2 highlights some of those. And not just pressures in the current year's budget, but also opportunities where we can support economic growth for the borough. And on that note, you will note in the report that there is some allocation towards a proposal to create a West Bridgford Town Centre Reserve. Now, this will go to full council in the main budget, and its intention is to lever in funding from other partners such as Nottinghamshire County Council. We don't want to stand still. We want to continue our economic growth activities. In addition, I would highlight the Treasury Depreciation Reserve, which, as we're all aware, is there to protect us against market fluctuations. We have allocated some of that efficiency gain towards that reserve as well, and that's £378,000. And special expenses in Appendix D covers some of it's a very minor overspend, which is detailed there. Moving on to the capital position, Appendices C and D shows the overall position on our capital programme. And again, there is an underspend of 5.968 million, of which 3.756 will be rephased into 25-26. And the details of that are contained within Table 3. It does leave some 2.212 million underspend, which again, is within the report. And the proposal for that is not the proposal, but the reason for that rather is, for example, we have a reserve for £1 million in terms of our travellers site acquisition, which is still there, yet to be allocated. And we've got some smaller amounts, which are as a result of Rushcliffe Oaks Crematorium and also the Bingham Marina, which was the budgeted post-opening enhancement allocations. So in conclusion, whilst this is healthy, and I did start off by saying it's a positive report, things can change, and they do change, as we know, and there are longer term challenges. So what we are doing is we're ensuring, again, with our prudent decisions and our reserves, which are there, to ensure that we can mitigate those ongoing risks. But it is a positive report, and I would like to recommend the recommendations in section 2 as per the report to Cabinet.
Okay, yep,
Thank you, Chair.
thank you. That's the bottom of page 15, recommendations A, B and C. Do you have a seconder, Councillor Wheeler?
Yeah, happy to second, Chairman. I think once again it shows that when we're setting the budget, we're not saying that's a target or to get to in terms of expenditure. We're constantly looking at what ways we can to be as efficient as possible so we can reinvest money into other priorities. Again, setting up there where the team have done a fantastic job in constantly reviewing to see where they can not only make more income, but look at being more efficient in how we deliver services. I mean, if you look at my own portfolio in terms of the extra income we've made out of the leisure management contracts, down to the great work the team's done working with Parkwood and Lakes Leisure and of course Mitre as well, and then looking at the work the community team have done to really excel on the extra bookings we're taking to not only maximise income, but to go with our strategy to make as much of our pitch bookings available for use as possible. Just talking slightly on Edwards Golf Course, might look at the site plot in terms of the loss there. Obviously, we had the horrendous weather which flooded the course, but our partners as well as our team worked extremely hard to get the course open as soon as possible. And we are looking, when we are doing a lot of work into looking how we can mitigate them in future with some work on the site to put some more flood alleviation measures in. But taking away that, there was a fantastic story there in terms of the work that's been done at the golf course itself, in terms of the clubhouse and the extra work done on the course to make income. So I'm very confident next year, if we don't get the horrible weather we had last year, we can really excel going forward in terms of the income we're making. So it's a really good positive story overall, Chairman, in terms of the financial position of the council, and more than happy to second. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Any other comments or questions from anybody? No, as you've outlined in your comments, just shows the continued very good work by the officer team and looking after the finances of this council. It doesn't happen by accident. I know there's a lot of effort and work goes into that. So perhaps you can thank your team on our behalf. So the recommendations have been moved and seconded. Paragraph 9. All those in favour, please. That's unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to item 7, which is the Tollerton Neighbourhood Plan. Councillor Upton.
Thank you, Chairman. From time to time, I bring reports to Cabinet recommending the approval of a neighbourhood plan. And tonight I bring the recommendations regarding Tollerton's neighbourhood plan. However, as can be seen in the report, this has been a rather different process to previous neighbourhood plans, insofar as not all of the examiner's recommended modifications are being proposed for approval, and therefore further consultation is required before another report back to Cabinet concerning a referendum. The Tollerton Neighbourhood Plan has been produced by Tollerton Parish Council in conjunction with the local community, and it was assessed by an independent examiner whose report was published in January this year. Without going into too much detail, and that's given in the report and the appendices, there has been a lot of discussion around the examiner's recommended modifications 5, 6 and 20. Now, as stated in the report, the parish and borough councils have agreed not to include these 3 relatively minor modifications, and therefore to comply with the relevant statutory requirements, a further 6 weeks public consultation needs to take place before the plan can proceed to referendum. And that's set out in item 4.6 of the report. So in conclusion, the Tollerton Neighbourhood Plan draft decision statement has been prepared and is detailed in Appendix 3. This gives comments on each of the examiner's recommendations and also whether other modifications are considered necessary. I therefore propose the approval of the recommendations which are given in the report. There are quite lengthy 4 items there. I'll briefly read them. Recommended that Cabinet A accepts all of the examiner's recommended modifications to the Tollerton Neighbourhood Plan, with the exception of modifications 5, 6 and 20. B, approves the Tollerton Neighbourhood Plan decision statement and its publication. C, agrees that a 6 weeks consultation should be undertaken on the proposed decision not to accept modifications 5, 6 and 20. And finally, D, agrees not to proceed to referendum on the Tollerton Neighbourhood Plan at this time, pending a further report to Cabinet once the consultation has been completed. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. I'm in full support of villagers having the desire, the aspirations and the commitment from local people in producing a neighbourhood plan for their area. And I do appreciate the hard work that's needed to produce such a document. They do need, however, to meet the objectives of the parish council, fulfil the statutory requirements of the borough council and comply to legalities with an oversight of the examiner. As Councillor Upton's explained, there are 3 parts to this that need to be addressed, as in part 5, 6 and 20 of the examiner's modifications. So I do consider these are valid reasons that need to be addressed or challenged in order to protect Rushcliffe Borough Council legal obligations, and therefore agree and second the recommendations set out in 80D of part 2 of the report, which will ultimately bring the plan back to Cabinet following the 6-week public consultation.
Thank you very much indeed. And yes, as you've both outlined, a lot of work gone into it, and for the reasons stated in the recommendation, then the the examiners recommendations haven't been adopted in total. So, any other comments or questions, Councillor Wheeler?
Yeah, just quickly, Chairman, I think it's just worth saying, to put on record, thanks to the parish council and the community who have put together the neighbourhood local plan, because they are very complex documents. I know some of our members, like Councillor Upton, knows only too well from his time back on Trent, and it's just worth saying the reason going back to make sure this is done right, because it's such an important document. It'd be quite easy just to sign off, say that's done, because there's so much other work going on he's doing. But we want to make sure it's right for the community, and so there might look like the minor modifications. Important that the time was taken to make sure it's absolutely tight, so the community exactly know what is going ahead with the neighbourhood plan. So if we should ever put off any community putting together a neighbourhood plan, I think it's right for them. It's just for them to be reassured, as we've shown here today, that we will take the extra time needed to make sure it's done right for them, and to make sure that it actually can stand up and be a true record of what the plan should be. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? No. So the recommendations A, B, C and D. All those in favour, please. It's unanimous. Thank you very much indeed. So that brings us to the end of the agenda. So thank you for your attendance, and